have so much legislation we have to fight back on. I mean, one thing, that I just mentioned, but also we have legislation that's like basically rolling back workplace environment rights for children and teens here in the state of Florida that have existed since like the Industrial Revolution.
Right, like child labor law problems.
Yeah.
Right? Like so ridiculous things.
Ridiculous. So we have, obviously tons to fight back on, not only this session, but every session. And I've said this time and time again, I think youth are always in the front of the minds of Republicans right now for these past few legislative sessions. It's been no secret that they want to make sure that we feel the pressure, whether it be on education through things such as the Don't Say Gay bill, or, some of the legislation that we're seeing regarding DEI, or even, voting rights. Last session, we saw SB 7050, which was a bill that was essentially, in its original form, trying to eliminate tens of thousands of college student voters here in the state. So we have some awful stuff going on here in Florida.
Yeah, we had Anna Escamani on, was it last week?
Yes.
Last week. And so she's definitely one of our faves and is always up there fighting the good fight. And she said that there's a lot of stuff that's brewing up there. And I know a lot of it is the not sexy stuff that we don't all hear about. But yeah, no, and I'm glad that you live there so that you could be participating in this. Somebody's got to be in Tallahassee. I can't drive there. It's way too far.
Yeah. And you know what? It's like the Capitol is literally like a few blocks away from me. So I just take that walk and I'm there. I'm ready to start hating on these people and telling them what's the business. We got to keep our people, accountable. That's what it comes down to. No matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat. And that's truly what I believe in, no matter what, each and every day.
It's unfortunate, but as we know, issues like anything that's related to the culture war is a very, polarizing, dividing issue, especially in Tallahassee. But what isn't dividing is the fact that the cost of living in this state is out of control, especially when it comes to rent, when it comes to insurance, all things that unfortunately Gen Z will probably never experience because owning a home just is, completely in the rearview mirror now.
Yeah.
And because the rich basically don't have to pay any taxes in the state, they get every loophole known to man, where basically they can just pass along all of their inheritance to their family and just create insane amounts of generational wealth, but while at the same time, leaving millions upon millions of people out in the cold. And we are one of the more unique states. We're the third most populous. We have a growing population. And we're limited in terms of the geographic regions within the state within which people can live. So this almost seems like it's going to burst at the seams at any moment. And I can only imagine what that's like in Tallahassee. Can you talk about the economic impact of what that's like right now?
Yeah, when you guys graduate, how are you going to eat?
Yeah, really.
It's
going to be cooking.
It's ridiculous here in Florida. I mean, the affordability crisis is no joke. Just being upfront. I mean, I think we all feel it at the end of the day, but especially for youth, like I have my first apartment, right? I'm here in college in Tallahassee paying for my apartment. And, it's a lot, as a college student, it's insane. But then trying to envision being able to own a house is like a whole nother ball game with the insurance crisis that we have going on here in the state of Florida. It's just impossible to live with, especially when we have a governor and a government that just doesn't want to take that issue head on. And it's unfortunate, and it's going to be something that we continue to deal with. I mean, look, I keep saying, some of the biggest things that are going to be important to youth in this election here in Florida is going to be recreational marijuana, because that's going to be on the ballot. We're going to see abortion on the ballot. These are going to be two of the biggest things. And then number 3 is going to be affordability. And a lot of people look at me like, that's crazy. But in reality, it is insane the way we're living right now here in Florida with the affordability crisis. And I think it goes unnoticed how much youth care about it. One of the things, I don't know if you all saw this last year, Senator Jason Pizzo went on a college tour. And I was there with him for most of this ride. And every single college brought up the affordability, the lifestyle that they have. And even on things such as the insurance crisis, you wouldn't think a college student is really thinking about the insurance crisis, but they are, because that's what we're feeling. We understand that, like, if we don't confront this crisis, the affordability crisis, the insurance crisis, we are not going to be able to own a home until we're 30, 35, 40, whatever that number might be. Not anytime soon, unfortunately. So we got a lot to do on that front here in Florida for sure. And it goes back to holding our officials accountable. Unfortunately, we have an asshole governor here in Florida. I don't even know if I can curse on here. I think I can.
You can. Oh yeah, if that's
good.
the last thing that's going to get us demonetized, I assure you.
Good. I mean, that we are, and he's back. So he's back here full time, obviously, with Governor DeSantis. And you know what? I think the other part to it, we don't know if he's going to be, burning down everything. Is he going to burn the house down? Is he going to make sure that we all feel it? The fact that he sucked in his presidential race, the worst presidential campaign ever. We're all going to feel that. And I have no doubt that we will, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to add more fuel to the fire for everyone wanting to make sure we change things here in Florida. And I think we're seeing that already.
Yep, I think that's a very good point. I also think that when it comes to DeSantis, he definitely intends to run for president again.
Oh my God, which is so absurd.
Foolhardy approach. He's probably better off primarying Rick Scott and trying to get into the U.S. Senate.
That and therein is the only competition for me, wherein Ron DeSantis would be preferable.
Yeah.
That would be it right there. And anybody who doesn't know, for us in Florida, Rick Scott is absolutely, he should be in prison. He is the absolute. So again, I'm not a fan of DeSantis, but that would be the only race wherein I think that it would weigh for me a little in favor of DeSantis.
Yeah, there's a big difference between somebody who
talk about a lesser of two evils race.
But clearly we don't want it to come to that. In years past, in generations past, as bad as austerity politics and trickle-down economics have been since the days of Reagan, Ronald Reagan raised taxes when he needed to. George H.W. Bush raised taxes when he needed to. There's been this complete lack of attempt to hold the rich accountable since the days of George W. Bush, who in my opinion is the worst president of my lifetime. But that is translated into what we have seen, especially at the state level, like in the state of Florida. Governor DeSantis knows what he needs to do in order to change the fortunes of the state. He does need to tax the rich, but he's not going to do it. And so the problem just continues to permeate and get worse.
But
and worse
you say it as if it's just him. Okay, let's be real. This isn't him. He is the cherry on top of an extremely ugly Tallahassee Sunday.
That is correct. I agree with that. And so this brings the conversation.
No offense, Jayden. I know you live there now.
I don't disagree. We've had our fair share of problems up here. Look, the insider part of it is like disgusting as well. You sometimes you can just hear about the drama of what's going on and just a few blocks down the road from myself. And it's like, really, are these people kids? How did these people get into such an office trying to represent thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people in some cases, and really not care about us? It's quite disgusting.
So I wanted to ask you, as we bring the conversation full circle, what is the goal? Because it sounds like you got off to a pretty good start with Florida's future leaders. What is the goal of the organization? Are there any particular races that you're singling out? And how can we potentially provide assistance in helping?
How can we help your organization?
Yeah. So I'm proud to say that it is the youngest led PAC here in the state of Florida. And it represents the Florida high school Democrats and the Florida college Democrats. And on our first day, we raised $20,000.
Nice.
$20,000 in our first 24 hours. And it's led by me. I'm the chairman. I'm 19 years old, and we have an all-student team helping to make sure that we get things done. Our biggest goal is to make sure that we organize youth all across the state, particularly in areas where we can flip districts. And so those districts, range from Tallahassee to Orlando to down in South Florida, particularly in Palm Beach. I think in the last election cycle, and I've told a lot of people about this, is that we had 6 to 7 state legislative districts that we lost simply because the youth vote was so poor. And that's abnormal. That's something that was not what we saw in other battleground states in the last election cycle. But Florida lagged behind.
Where were those districts? I'm sorry. I'm just curious, where are you seeing, I'm curious where you primarily see a huge youth vote, because Florida, obviously there's areas that are not and areas that are.
Yeah. Senate District 3 is a perfect example. You know, that's one of the only flippable, that is the only flippable state Senate district in this coming election cycle. Has FSU, 40,000 students.
Okay.
It has FAMU, that's 10 to 12,000 students. It has TCC, that's another 10,000 students. And then a ton of technical colleges in there. So we're hoping to fill that gap by being able to hire full-time campus directors on these college campuses and publicize the hell out of the issues of abortion and marijuana, both being on the ballot. I don't really see the candidates being the ones that really are going to turn out youth this election cycle.
You don't think?
Unfortunately,
You don't feel Joe is pulling out the youth?
Come on, man.
you know, look, we have two amazing issues that are going to be on the ballot this cycle, and those are going to be really the things that turn out youth, especially I think recreational marijuana and abortion are going to be like, college campuses are going to go crazy for those.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.